Welcome in to the Fantasy Pros Best Ball Show with myself, Tom Strachan, and of course, your good friend, Andrew Erickson. Today is all about DraftKings Best Ball, and we will be drafting in the DraftKings $15 million headliner contest. This contest is going to be a lot of fun. $20 entry, massive prizes, $2 million up top. Andrew, if somebody was watching this for the first time and had never played Best Ball before, what's the one thing that you would tell them about DraftKings Best Ball?
It's a full PPR site. I think that just understanding how the scoring works is really important because I think there's a lot of drafters that don't even look at how the rules are. How are my players actually scoring points? So it follows traditional DraftKings scoring, so full PPR, and you have bonuses. So quarterback throws for over 300 passing yards. That's a bonus. Same thing with running backs, receivers going over the 100-yard thresholds at the rushing and receiving. So I think those are some things I'd like to point out. And also it's 20 rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So this contest is definitely a fun one. Like we say, massive prizes up top. You can make a huge amount of money if you can successfully thread the needle and draft the perfect team. That's what we're going to be trying to do tonight. But one player who I'm really interested to see where they go in these drafts is Jauan Jennings, who today has said that he'd like either a new contract from the 49ers or to be traded, which comes on the back of last year where he kind of had a bit of a breakout after signing a new contract, but a very cheap contract. He was 17th in targets per out run, had a 29% first read target share. But the flip side of that, Andrew, is he was 98th in yards after catch per reception among receivers with 50 targets or more. Only Zach Ertz and Sterling Shepard had a worse rate. Like, what do you see as the true Jauan Jennings? Do you see somebody who's deserving of a big contract? Do you see somebody who deserves to be traded for anything meaningful right now?
I'm not so sure that he deserves a brand new contract because they did give him a contract last year before he kind of had this fifth year breakout, which I technically think it was his fifth year because he didn't play his entire rookie season. So it looks a little bit weird when you're looking at the actual box score for Jauan Jennings in terms of his season long stats over his career. I think the thing that emerged for me just watching the 49ers play last year, he was Brock Purdy's go-to guy all over the place. Whenever Purdy was in trouble, he would always go to Jauan Jennings if he wasn't going to George Kittle. So maybe this is just fueling more of the George Kittle is so undervalued in my league. It's just like all over the place. George Kittle, fourth round. He's still too cheap. Maybe he is still too cheap because, again, we have another 49ers wide receiver that wants to get paid. And, I mean, you still have to credit the system that the 49ers play in. That's obviously going to help Jauan Jennings and not necessarily hurt him. And if he did get moved for another team, I mean, maybe the Commanders are a team that's shopping, looking for another player. Again, obviously, they were interested in Debo. You have the Peters coming over from the 49ers. He's familiar with Jennings. Give Jaden Daniels another weapon to work with, dealing with their own contract. Maybe that gives them leverage with Terry McLaurin and his contract. So I'd like to see him stay in the 49ers. And I mean, Ayuk said he wanted to be traded. He wasn't traded. Debo said he wanted to be traded for multiple off seasons, it seems like, and he finally got dealt this past off season. So I think this is just a leverage play. This is the card that he can kind of use in this specific negotiating tactic, but I think he's probably just going to be on the 49ers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, this is the time of year where we see so many contract negotiations getting done as camp rolls around. We start to see those deals. And obviously, Jennings hasn't been a priority for them this offseason. But, like, I compare it to a situation with Rashad Bateman. Like, the Ravens didn't have to extend him, but they gave him a slightly improved deal that basically gave him more job security, locked things up a little longer. And he was happy. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar kind of vibe to that with any kind of extension that Jennings gets. I appreciate Merck in the chat hanging out tonight. And if you've got any other questions or you want to draft alongside us, we're about to jump into a draft in just a couple of minutes time. See Jerry Nelson, Jerry, always here with us, one of our very favorites. And you know what? Football season, it is right around the corner, and there's no better way to lock in your fantasy dominance early than with Best Ball on DraftKings, where you draft once and ride your roster all season long. Right now, DraftKings is giving all customers a can't miss offer. Draft one, get one. All you got to do is just enter a lineup into the 15 million Best Ball contest for just $20, and you'll score another bonus Best Ball ticket to play for a share of 15 million, giving you a second shot to win big That's what me and Andrew are doing tonight. It's easy. All you got to do, just draft your team once. No weekly management required. Let your top scorers automatically start each week. All those guys that you take shots on towards the end of your roster, they can come up and help you out. And across the whole season, every breakout start, every clutch play, every touchdown will count towards your quest for a share of $15 million. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app now to draft your $20 best ball lineup to play for a share of $15 million. Get a second ticket to play for free. That's 2 chances to win big without ever setting your lineup again. Draft one, get one. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY at 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. 1 per customer. End of a best ball $15 million headliner contest. Buy 9 for $4 for $25 to get 1 bonus entry. $20 entry fee required. Reward expires in 30 days. See terms at DraftKings.com/NFL-best-ball. Sponsored by DK. Well, let's get into it. We're into the draft already, Andrew. What pick have we pulled?
Let's see. I was too distracted by pick 3 Star Fox 01. I absolutely love that name. Pick 8. So we're picking. I like that selection. I've kind of preferred picking towards the end of round 1. So I feel this is a good spot.
Yeah, I like it. I feel like, there's plenty of good options. And most importantly, it gives us good options in the second round as well. Like, there's just so much movement and so many unique combinations that we can get to. We talked last time we drafted on DraftKings about how Trey McBride was a league winner last year. He went nuclear in week 17 and dragged along a roster that had nothing else at tight end. And in this range of the draft, you kind of having to decide whether you want to bring Brock Bowers onto your roster. He's somebody that just feels like the positive drumbeat's starting to go for him. Like, every time I've logged on to Twitter in the last couple of days, I'm seeing more and more Brock Bowers hype. Is he somebody who'd be in play for you in round 2 tonight, Andrew?
I think so. I mean, the Brock Bowers, Trey McBride, I think both guys are excellent picks, for the elite tight end strategy. Again, going back to DraftKings being full PPR, that's how those guys won last year, right? And if either of them experience any type of positive touchdown variance, then you're cooking with gas.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you mentioned, there's the 100-yard bonus over here. You get 3 points for that. Like, the tight end position is so difficult and so touchdown dependent normally that if you can get a tight end who can generate 100-yard games and get that 3-point bonus, it's such a big difference maker that it's absolutely worth chasing. Draft is now starting, and Ja'Marr Chase goes off the board at the first overall pick. Nothing unusual there. Andrew, are you feeling spicy at all when it comes to the top of the draft board? Are you kind of just living off what ADP's giving you at the minute?
Part of me wants to move Bijan to number 1.
It's happening.
But part of me doesn't at the same time, because Ja'Marr Chase is so good. And I know it's so hard to repeat as the wide receiver 1, but if anyone's going to do it, isn't it going to be the Burrow-Chase combination, right? Like, wouldn't those be the guys to kind of stop you can't repeat as a wide receiver 1? If a duo is going to do it, would be those 2 guys.
Yeah, very much so. We've got Flowbro241 in the chat saying CMC is so enticing mid-first round. He still has number 1 overall upside. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I was a bit hesitant with it for a while, but at a certain point, you've just got to say, right, well, McCaffrey's healthy until he's not healthy. And much as I'm a little trepidatious about it, I'm okay just mixing some in. There's nobody in the first round that I don't want some level of exposure to. So, Andrew, we're 1 pick away. CeeDee Lamb falling to us from the 5.5 ADP, but he goes. So it's McCaffrey, Neighbors, and I know you're not into Amon-Ra, so I'll throw in Genty or Nico. Which of those 4 guys?
Let's go with Nico and kind of see what kind of build we can start with him. I like Genty more at the running back spot here, because when I just think about, we know that all the points are happening really in weeks 15, 16, 17. We talk about McCaffrey and how great he can be. Let's be honest. Who is more likely to be there weeks 15, 16, 17? McCaffrey or Ashton Genty? Like, we're really being honest. It's probably Genty. And I think Genty, I think that he has, it's weird to look at a rookie and say that he has a high floor, but he's going to see 300, 350 touches in this offense. And if it's just average with Geno Smith, which I think that's a realistic expectation, then he should at least be a back end round one, top 5 running back, even if he doesn't necessarily exceed expectations necessarily. But I think that he can still be a strong round 1 pick.
Yeah, so it's just really hard to knock against the kind of sheer amount of volume that he's going to get. I can't fathom fading him, definitely. So let's see what we're a few picks away. Derrick Henry, Devin Achan, Drake London, Brock Bowers. I mean, pretty much any of them would be good for me. Dual running back starts, always a little bit risky when you're on the turn or towards one side of a board, because then you kind of can get locked out of a position. But let's grab our next pick here. Drake London does go. So for me, this comes down to whether you want to stack the Raiders and go Brock Bowers or go Lad McConkey, AJ Brown. I know you're a big AJ Brown guy, Andrew.
I'm a big AJ Brown guy, but we took Collins in the first round.
Oh, sorry. I thought we took Yep. Sorry.
No. We got Collins. So this actually kind of works better because I think that the hesitancy, the thing is when you take Genty in round 1, I don't know if I love taking Bowers too. Just a little bit aggressive on Raiders players. So I think this is a good pathway to, because we went receiver first, we push running back a little bit more and grab Bowers as the highest ranked guy there.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a strange correlation as well, because you're always going to be hoping that one outplays the other. So there are certain offenses where I'd be with it and certain ones where I wouldn't be. Appreciate Don Vito, Epic Justice, and Juanito614 all just following the channel. Look, myself and Andrew, we are here each and every Monday at this time, 4 p.m. Eastern, until the season starts. We are going to be doing these best ball live streams. You can tune in each week for talk about strategy, stacks, sleepers. Last week, we went through a whole bunch of best ball strategy. This week, drafting. Next week, back to strategy. Every couple of weeks, we're doing the live drafts on different platforms, different strategies with different contests. So tune in each and every Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/fantasypros to get the most practical best ball advice on the web. Andrew, the draft rolling on seems fairly normal so far. We know these DraftKings ones can get a little bit weird sometimes. Like I was on JJ Zacharyason's Becoming a Best Ball Bro pod last week, and the one thing he kept saying was his relationship with DraftKings rooms is so different to any other platform, and I think that's just something which you kind of have to accept, don't you? Over here, it's a really fun platform because it keeps you on your toes. But anything surprising you so far?
Nothing so far. I think that we're seeing most of the guys. It's still, I don't know. It still feels like a sticker shock seeing Rashee Rice go that high in the back end of the second round, but I get it. I understand if he's healthy and he carries over what he did, not even at the beginning of last year, but during his rookie season. I understand the upside case, but we do have a lot of moving pieces with some of the news we had over the weekend. So it should be interesting to see Browns running backs, where they end up going. That'll be interesting. Najee Harris, Omarion Hampton. So we'll kind of, I think we're going to see some interesting picks. I'm sure of it.
Yeah, Trey McBride goes off at 302, which feels like good value. Not as good value as Jerry Nelson. Jerry gets in his keeper league, keeping him for the 8th round. Like, just get out of here with that, man. That's too good. But yeah, we'll hit on the Browns running backs very soon. Dabinator Gamer, appreciate you following us here on Fantasy Pros Twitch. If you got questions, people, or if you're drafting with us and you want us to give you any feedback on your teams, do let us know if you're in this draft room with us. Andrew, we're back on the clock. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Terry McLaurin, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Breece Hall, all at the top of ADP. Where are you feeling like we go?
If we go quarterback, I'm cool with Josh Allen. If we want to go running back and kind of go with our hero RB build, I would go with Breece Hall. That'd be my pick.
Yeah, I'd be fine with Breece Hall. I think that we're going to get a bit of a rise in his ADP over the coming days. I think when we start to see the positive camp buzz, it's got to lead to a little bit of a jump as people come around on him. How much higher ahead of where we took him there would you be willing to take him?
I mean, I think I still feel good about the 3rd round. I'm not so sure I want to push him up to the 2nd round necessarily. He's definitely someone that I've kind of changed my tune on a bit. I was originally much more interested in Garrett Wilson, kind of just looking at, okay, Fields, the connection. We saw DJ Moore have an improved season with Justin Fields. But I just think back to, on the surface, what's the Jets offense going to be? They want to run the football. That's what they want to do. And it's up to Breece Hall. If the good Breece Hall comes in and shows up this year on a contract season, then he's going to be really productive. But if the Breece Hall from last year, efficiency-wise, shows up and Braylon Allen and these other guys are outplaying him, I don't think that they're better than Breece Hall, but we got to get the guy that I was hoping we were going to get last year as I was ranking as the RB1 overall. We didn't get that, but the 3-down skill set, he can catch passes, not a lot of competition after Garrett Wilson. The path for him to being a top 5 running back, I think, is still there.
Okay, so we're one pick out. Mike Evans, DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, Omarion Hampton, Jalen Hurts, Jameson Williams. Andrew, what stands out as the best pick to you?
Let's go with Omarion Hampton. I think that this Najee Harris thing is not nothing, to be honest.
Yeah.
And 4th round, I don't think that this is terrible value for a player like that. And we have correlation in week 17 because they play the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I think that's a fun one. I think by week 17, regardless of what's going on with Najee Harris's eye, Omarion Hampton is going to be the lead back there. So building for week 17, the final over here on DraftKings, it is 1,021 people in the final, which means that you are going to have to hit on so many both individual outcomes and correlated outcomes. You need those little mini game stacks for DFS approach. Disasters in the chat saying, for me, I think underdog drafts have been way more shocking this year. I've seen Bucky Irving go 106 on there. Someone take Bowers, McBride 112 and 201. Yeah, I mean, the double elite tight end strategy is something that kind of always divides opinions. Like we talked about this a few weeks ago, going through our favorite best ball strategies for this year. And when you look at double elite tight end strategy and advance rates and win rates over the year, it's never pretty. But I think that it's always going to be slightly enticing when you get 2 of those guys. Don Vito in the chat saying, another day I went 0 RB on DK, and the first 3 picks were CD, AJ Brown, and Garrett Wilson. Like, that's when I want Garrett Wilson. If I can get Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 3, that sounds like a great approach. Andrew, would you be taking Garrett Wilson easily there?
Yeah, I think that's actually pretty similar to my Scott Fishbowl team. I'm pretty sure I started with bang, 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 3 receivers off the jump. And I think Garrett Wilson was also my wide receiver 3. So it does matter. Like when you're putting these guys in perspective, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 2, you're like, okay, like I like that. I feel good. But then, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 3, guy's going to drown in at least 150 targets. We'll see how the efficiency is. But yeah, I think that's a great shout out, Don Vito.
Yeah, well, we teamed up for a video on my channel, Fantasy Sanctuary. Go check it out. Go subscribe. And we talked primarily about Colston Loveland and Tyler Warren and how good the rookie tight ends could be this year and their ceilings. And a lot of the comments were people bigging up Mason Taylor and really saying they expect a lot from him. And I really like Mason Taylor. I really wanted him to get a good landing spot, and I think he got a good landing spot, but it's a little bit difficult for me to see it in year 1 because of the passing volume. When you've got someone like Garrett Wilson, you've got Breece Hall, who tends to earn targets as well, but I definitely don't hate it. And let's say Garrett Wilson at that point just felt like an absolute smash. We're coming up to an area in the draft where it's kind of, you want to pad out your roster a little, build that depth a little bit more. The current top players, Jameson Williams, Cortland Sutton, Alvin Kamara, Kenneth Walker, Jaylen Waddle, Joe Mixon. We've got 2 running backs, so it feels probably more prudent that we want to be in the wide receiver streets here. But there are 3 picks before us. Who are you hoping lands with us?
I want either JMO or Waddle. I mean, I'm a Waddle guy. Every time
I'm a Waddle guy.
Try to get Jaylen Waddle. Yeah. So Jameson Williams gone. Yeah, we don't need running backs. This is the running back area that I'm cool not having to pick players in. Again, a lot of veterans, probably like Ken Walker the most, just because I think that he does have a top 10 ceiling. But these other guys, Kamara, Connor, yes, you're hoping for some early season production, but you should kind of factor in that it may taper off as the season progresses.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're a little bit cooler on Travis Hunter. Is this the range where you'd be willing to draft him when we've got a couple of wide receivers, where we've started to build out this roster?
I think so.
But it's Jaylen Waddle.
Of course it is Jaylen Waddle. But Travis Hunter, I mean, it's so hard to pinpoint exactly what he's going to do. I think at this price is fair. He's not so outrageously priced that you can never make this work. I think you can make it work here. But I mean, we don't know. We don't know what he's going to be doing in week 15. It could be totally different from what he's doing in week 1. So he could be a really low advanced player that just blows up in the weeks that matters the most. So I just think that when you take a guy like Travis Hunter, who I actually almost prefer to draft when I also take Brian Thomas Jr., just to kind of keep that Jaguars production baked in, because if Travis Hunter is playing more defense, then okay, maybe that benefits Brian Thomas Jr. So I'm getting more out of my first or second round pick. But also recognizing that Travis Hunter could be a really low roster player because he is so boom or bust. If I'm going to get exposure to Travis Hunter, I want it to be in best ball, because he's going to have his own usage report every single week. Trying to figure out projecting him on a week-to-week basis. The start-sit questions with Travis Hunter are going to be the toughest, I think, since I started doing fantasy.
Yep, and make sure you tune in to Fantasy Pros Sunday live streams beforehand for those questions and put us in a bind. I know I'll be back. Andrew, are you doing the early hour this year?
I'm all over the place. I should be there at some points, but
I'll be there with Welsh for the second hour each week. We got Flowbro241 asking Waddle back this year. I don't think Waddle left last year. I mean, he needed Tua out there. Like, Waddle averaged 4.7 more PPR points in games with Tua than the ones without him, and it's hard to deal with losing your starting quarterback. He led the team in yards per target. He led the team in yards per reception. He was pretty good. It just was a bad Miami team, and hopefully we can see a healthy Tua, because last year ranked third in pass attempts per game at 36 per game. And that defense, we talk about it every week pretty much, Andrew, but it looks awful. We're about to come back on the clock. You've started Rome Odunze already. Anybody else in this range who's interesting?
I mean, Travis Hunter, we talked about him. He's fallen a little bit past the ADP. I think that Henderson doesn't really fit our build that great because we already have a rookie running back, and I think I'd rather look for some early season production. So I like Odunze as a receiver to break out, but if you want Hunter, I know we just talked about him.
What pick are we at?
I'm not going to push back.
What pick are we at, Andrew?
We're going with we're round 6.
So go with Odunze.
Yeah, we got him.
Yeah, like the Travis Hunter fall didn't feel like big enough to really be like we were taking a huge ADP value. So I'm kind of okay with that. We've got Disasters in the chat asking, what do you guys think about the tight end situation in Pittsburgh as it relates to best ball? Andrew, are you drafting either Jonnu Smith or Pat Freiermuth, or should people just be staying away from him? I mean, their ADPs, like Jonnu's ADP is still reasonably high, but part of that comes down to the fact that it's quite hard for players to fall substantially in best ball because you've got auto drafters and you've got people who just see a name at the top of the rankings and eventually they feel compelled to take him. So Jonnu is at 134.9, and then Pat Freiermuth is going at 198. So probably not drafted in every draft.
Yeah, definitely not. I think that the value is just probably on Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith. I think he's just more dependent on like bigger plays, and I think Freiermuth probably has the more touchdown upside. When I'm thinking, okay, Aaron Rodgers in the red zone, who is he going to gravitate towards? I think it might be Freiermuth, who he hasn't really shown a really high ceiling, I think, in the NFL. But I mean, if you just look at his season-long finishes throughout his career, he's been pretty consistent, like finishing as a top 20 overall tight end, despite, up and down quarterback play. Obviously, the Steelers have had talented wide receivers, and they've been a run-heavy offense most of the season. So I know that Arthur Smith and Jonnu Smith had this connection. It's sometimes worked out, and sometimes it's been really, really bad.
It just comes down to Rodgers, though, doesn't it? And I think that's kind of like a good approach. Like, is the difference between these two players substantial enough that we shouldn't be taking the player who goes 60 picks later? I don't know. Like, I definitely don't have a strong lean, but I'm probably more willing to scoop that value up on Freiermuth. So we're coming back up to being on the clock in a few picks here, but we still got a bit of time. Chris Godwin falling past ADP. The Bucks this week said that they expect that he could be ready for week 1. Now, the flip side of that is what Jason Light also said a few weeks ago, that they didn't see the need to rush him back for week 1. So try to decipher that coach speak is a little bit tricky. We're coming up towards Quinshon Judkins. How far down have you dropped him in your rankings, Andrew? We don't need to get into the details of this. Like, there's still a lot of that that's going to come out. But are you saying like around 2 rounds before you'd be willing to draft him at this point?
Yeah, he's outside my top 30 running backs. I think that for me, it's a potential 5 or 6 game suspension. And this is based on last year. The Browns drafted a different player in the second round who also was dealing with a domestic violence incident. And he was suspended. Michael Hall, defensive tackle, he was suspended for 5 games to start the season. So I think that's probably, again, we're going to get more information on this, but right now Judkins is a guy that's got outside the top 100, outside the top 30 running backs. And he even fell farther in my redraft rankings because if he's not there for the first 6 weeks, like I want that roster spot on my team. I can't sit on it for the Browns running back.
Andrew, Aaron Jones goes, you had him in the queue. I was about to make an impassioned plea for Ricky Pearsall instead. Give me Ricky Pearsall. Come on.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, this is the time, right? This is the time to buy with Jauan Jennings trying to get traded.
And I'm a little surprised to see he didn't go earlier than he did. So, yeah, the chat is absolutely cooking tonight. We'll get to more of your questions and comments in a bit. But if you want to get rid of the pesky ads, all you got to do is subscribe here on Twitch. You can do it for $5 or for free by syncing your Twitch with your Amazon Prime account, as producer Seth points out in the chat. So, Andrew, could you recap the roster for us as we've got a couple of picks to go?
Yeah, so running back, we got Breece Hall, Omarion Hampton, wide receiver, Nico Collins, Jaylen Waddle, Rome Odunze, tight end, Brock Bowers, and in the flex, Ricky Pearsall. So I'm liking the team so far.
Yeah, we've got a lot of outs to potential stacks as well, guys that we can build around and we can add second players to and third players and different levels of the draft. The quarterback glut is going to come up on us quite quickly soon. We're going to be hitting those rounds like between round 9 and round 11, which is where you probably want to look at least one quarterback. But we're going to have plenty of options. Judkins does keep falling. In this range, Andrew, who do you think we should be looking towards?
I mean, I know I do want to try to get a running back with some early season production just to kind of mitigate anything with Hampton. Pollard's probably not that guy for me, though. So I think I'm cool with waiting unless we want to reach for Jordan Mason. But even he's kind of like, I mean, seems like touchdown dependent.
I'd be okay with Pollard. I think that, Vitaje Spear or Pollard goes, of course.
Pollard's gone, yeah.
Oh, disasters in the chat, bringing up some breaking news that we're going to hit on in just a second after this pick. So Brock Purdy goes. We could have had him for the stack. We could take Justin Fields and just try and get the Jets touchdown equity no matter what each week. I'd be okay with that.
All right, yeah, we do need a quarterback and we can work the stack. So let's go with Fields.
And then when it comes back around, I'll let you take your guy. But we got to talk about Justin Fields' guy. According to Disasters, and I have not verified this, but he says that Garrett Wilson was just extended with a 4-year deal, $130 million, $90 million guaranteed. That's a lot of money. Andrew,
that's what you get. That's what you get when the only guys that have more targets than you since you entered the NFL are Devontae Adams and CeeDee Lamb. And Devontae Adams was his teammate last year. He could have had even more targets. He could have been number 1 in that category if Devontae had gotten traded and then got hyper targeted by Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, good for Garrett Wilson. I still think the best is yet to come for Garrett Wilson. I really do think that it's just a matter of getting the right quarterback with him. I'm still not 100% sure it is Fields. I really hope it is, and we get the DJ Moore type of surgeon from Garrett Wilson because talent. I think that Garrett Wilson. I think it's undeniable how talented the guy is. He just needs the right quarterback.
The best decision the Jets made was not siding with Aaron Rodgers and staying with Garrett Wilson. Like the rift between Garrett Wilson and Aaron Rodgers just became incredibly obvious last year. Really wasn't very fun to see. Like Rodgers was okay for Devontae Adams, but it was just you knew it was coming and you knew that it wasn't going to work perfectly. So yeah, Garrett Wilson is a far better receiver than we've perhaps seen him play. And hopefully if Justin Fields can even play to a reasonable standard, then we're going to be in for a good season. So we're heading into the second half of the draft, really. Andrew, what do you see the priority being for the next couple of rounds?
So I still want to try to grab a running back with some early season production. So Jaylen Warren, I have in our queue because I think he actually fits kind of what we're trying to do here because he catches passes. So in a full PPR, and of course he's gone, so it doesn't matter. We keep losing out on these running backs. Just like, guys, I just want like a little buffer to start the year just in case Hampton's a little bit slow. But the draft sharks are in the waters. It's Shark Week hasn't even started yet, and the draft sharks are out.
Well, it is best ball week on DraftKings. I mean, if you're drafting over here, you need to be keeping an eye out on the promos because there's loads of them. So lots going on, and definitely it's going to be fun seeing how we try to pad out this running back room for the rest of it. Appreciate Elpa Boom, who just followed us over here on Twitch. If you're watching the replay of this, you could have been here 2 days earlier, hanging out with us, drafting against us, getting your questions in live. Do leave them vote if you are watching on YouTube. Andrew, Caleb Williams at the top of the queue, then Keon Coleman, Fitz's favorite, and then Tyler Warren, who I know you're very high on. Can we afford to take Tyler Warren when we got Brock Bowers and we've kind of got possibly some other holes on the roster? Should we be looking more at like J.K. Dobbins instead?
I think you're probably right, actually. I just hadn't scrolled down yet, and I think J.K. Dobbins is really what this team actually very much needs. So I that's why you're the best ball guru, man. That's why we have you on the. I'm just here for the ride. I'm just driving, which I've gotten better at drafting and driving. J.K. Dobbins still available.
Yeah, well, let's take J.K. Dobbins, and if Caleb makes it back around to us, I think that's where the legitimate conversation about going, okay, well, do we just stick at 2 quarterbacks with Fields and Wilson, and work that? I think that is viable, but we can probably push to 3 because, I mean, we've got the elite quarterback and we've got the elite tight end, so we can pick and choose whether we want to go to 3 on both of them. Personally, I end up on a lot of 3-6-8-3 builds anyway, because it's just done historically well. It won the overall prize in this contest last year. And if you want to know more best ball strategy stuff like that, then you should be heading over to fantasypros.com/best ball. That's where the best ball draft kit is. And it is an absolute banger. There is so much in there from myself and Andrew and whole host of other experts at Fantasy Pros. We talk stacks, rookie breakdowns, ADP rises and fallers, roster construction. My favorite articles to write every year, the roster construction strategies. Our best ball draft kit is everything you need to draft smart and win big in best ball this season. Maybe you want to be tuned into this as well. Andrew, how many picks till we're back on the clock?
We are up in 5 picks. Yep, 5 picks. I got the queue ready to go. So, yeah, quarterback is an option here. We could also wait and see if we can get someone like Stroud, a little bit later to pair with Collins. I don't hate that idea, especially if we want to go with a positional player, a running back. I mean, I did release a thread today about Tyler Warren. I mean,
look, I literally put a video out the other day about Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland, and people loved it. People have been big into it. There's a lot of reason to believe that one of these tight end rookies is undervalued. Look, if you want to go Tyler Warren here, I'm not going to stop you, Andrew.
All right. I will say, though, if we can get Caleb, then we could try to get Loveland as well and get the full-blown stack, because we also have a Doomsday too. So that could also be an option if we want to go the Loveland route instead of Tyler Warren. At least getting one of these because, again, Colston Loveland, we all know his ADP is going to start to rise once he shows up.
Pretty much next week.
So we could get some value here.
Tell me, Tyler Warren, his bye week doesn't conflict with Brock Bowers, does it?
No. Bowers is week 8, so we should be
good.
I'm
going to let you make a call. Do you want Caleb Williams for the stack, or do you want Tyler Warren?
Let's get Caleb Williams for the stack, and then see if we can grab Loveland on the way back. I mean,
Warren
we have 2 of the Bears guys.
Yeah. Disasters and Mossy Colt, both just following the channel over here on Twitch. Truly appreciate you. And a comment from Disasters. In a hero RB build, around what level of RB are you looking for as your RB2 and RB3? And how many do you want by the end of the draft? Love this question. There's a lot of stuff in the Fantasy Pros Best Ball kit where I kind of talk about historical win rates for this. The hero RB guide, like there's years of data in there that I've put together. And generally speaking, when we talk about hero RB, it's one running back in round 1 or round 2, and then no more till round 6 or later. Generally, I'm looking at them in 20 round best ball as 6 to 7 running back builds. I kind of want to hit that range round 6 through 10 and get 2 running backs at least there. That's a range where we've seen guys like Leonard Fournette, James Conner, Raheem Mostert all be kind of league winners over the years. Andrew, is that a similar kind of range for you? Like, any thoughts differently on how many running backs you'd want in total when you go and hero running back?
No, I agree with what you were kind of outlining there. I think that it's important to make sure you feel really good about the other positions and not be so concerned about, I got to get every running back right that you're taking later on. You're just taking shot after shot after shot, right? You don't need to necessarily hit on all of these players, but if you can hit on some of them are going to be early season producers versus guys that you're going to feel, okay, these are the guys I can really make pushes toward the playoffs. I think that a big thing about best ball is just making sure that your roster's not just covered positionally and balanced, but also production wise and saying like, where's my early season production coming from to get it in advance to the playoffs? And then who is going to be my late season hammer, you know, all like a Bucky Irving type of player who really pops off in the second half. And usually those guys, you know, not really surprising, are young players and rookies.
Yeah, very much like comes down to like player archetypes, doesn't it? So I'm in on that. We got a couple more picks till it gets to us. Flowbro asking thoughts on Buffalo's receiving options. Is Kincaid a value at a shallow position like tight end? I think he is. I think the hate's gone too far. We can see him here in this range of 130. I don't dislike that at all. I think we're kind of looking for a slightly different type of player. And I know you love Tucker Kraft. I love Colston Loveland. So with him sandwiched in between those two, he's not necessarily a player that we end up drafting a lot. But Dalton Kincaid bounce back wouldn't really surprise anyone. Andrew, this is your range in the draft. Rashad Bateman, Tucker Kraft, like, I know I've been bending your ear on Colston Loveland and the inevitable ADP rise. Where are we going?
I mean, if Tucker Kraft is there, we're taking Tucker Kraft. I can't not take my guy, but if he gets taken within by Charlie, then I think he just got taken. So, all right, it makes it easy. We don't need to argue. We'll just take Colston Loveland, and I still like that pick. But Tucker Kraft, he's my favorite.
What if Colston Loveland is this year's Tucker Kraft? Okay, so right where we are in terms of roster construction now, Andrew, we probably need to be looking at a couple more running backs.
Yep. Yeah, we only have 3 running backs on the roster so far between Breece Hall, Omarion Hampton, and J.K. Dobbins. But to be honest, having a need at running back at this point in the draft, when we know that there's just a plethora of late round running backs from the talented rookie running back class that's coming in, we can just take shot after shot, trying to just hit on 1 or 2 of these guys where we feel like Breece Hall is our hero. He's going to score mostly in our RB1 slot every week. And then Hampton, he's going to be someone that we know is going to have a big second half, maybe starts a little bit earlier depending on the Najee injury. And then J.K. Dobbins can kind of help mitigate some of that early season, you know, potential committee.
Can I interest you in Rachaad White in full PPR?
Oh, you know me too well. This is such an easy. I feel like every draft we do, we pick Rachaad White because it's such an easy pick.
He just doesn't deserve to be where he's going, and particularly in full PPR, we know that he's gonna have a role. I'm sorry, like we tend to get a lot of Sean Tucker comments, and I think Sean Tucker's fine, but I think Rachaad White is clearly established well ahead of him. Flowbro241 asking, can Etienne become a relevant fantasy player again? If he is the main guy, could he have some upside if the offense improves? Absolutely. And look, I've never been a Travis Etienne person. I've always pointed towards his front and back half of the season splits, how he hasn't really lived up to things for a few years. Andrew, I know you're high on him because of the Trevor Lawrence connection all the way back to the time in Clemson. But like, now's the time when people should be drafting Travis Etienne, because he, again, is one of these veterans. So he was probably going to rise in ADP when we get to camp next week. And all of a sudden, it's like, well, yeah, of course he's the clear RB1.
Yeah, he's the starter in the offense until he gets traded or gets hurt. He catches passes. Like, that's the other thing. I get that his rushing efficiency hasn't been great. I know that part of that has also been because he's been playing injured and he's not a 300 touch guy. It was very clear that after they overloaded him with touches, his body started to break down. But if Liam Cohen's going to deploy similar to what he did in Tampa Bay, and Travis Etienne is Rachaad White, okay, last year that was bad because Rachaad White was a top 10 running back. But now you're getting, it's like you're drafting Rachaad White as the RB, like just kind of where we got him. If he finishes as a top 24 running back and you're getting him outside the top 30, especially in a full PPR site, like that's really good value. And let's say he does hold on to the job. Bashal Tutin fumbles his opportunities away. Same thing with Tank Bigsby. He fumbles. He has problems kind of earning the coaching staff their trust. Well, then Etienne, I think, is going to be the guy that catches passes, scores touchdowns, and an offense that we think can be better than they were last year.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a quarterback run there. I mean, team out of a one spot now has 4 quarterbacks, and then Bryce Young going off. So, look, we are kind of okay with what we have. There's nobody I'd be really dying to pull up in this range. We can get to Geno if we want to stack him with Brock Bowers later. Geno's still slightly undervalued, really. Andrew, we have 2 picks to lose. What are you seeing in this range?
I don't like this range. That's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm kind of seeing a lot of guys I don't want to click. Is there anyone that's pointing out to you? I mean, I like Allgeier. Like, I don't know. Like,
I'm okay with Austin Eckler. And again, he was a player that I didn't really want to draft last year. I thought that Brian Robinson, we were both high on Brian Robinson. We drafted him on our $350 FFPC team. But this year, he just kind of looks like a guy where it's like, okay, well, they didn't add anybody. And when you look at what Austin Eckler did last year, the 12th most receiving yards among running backs, ranked only 31st in routes run, and then have the 7th highest target share among running backs as well. Of course, he's already been drafted, so you're busy queuing up other guys. Let's take Dylan Sampson. Let's pull him all the way up.
Let's do it.
You've got him in the queue already. Let's go.
All right, perfect.
I mean, where do you have Dylan Sampson on the back of this news?
So I moved him up pretty substantially. I really liked him as a prospect and just kind of felt like he was kind of negatively ranked. I wanted to move him down more, but I was trying to consider, okay, I still really like this talent player, even if the situation's not necessarily that great. So I don't want to downgrade him too significantly. So now where it seems like, okay, if Quinshon Judkins does, there is a suspension that happens and he misses part of the beginning of the season. Well, maybe Sampson can fill in a little bit more, have a larger expanded role alongside Jerome Ford, and maybe how he picks up the offense could then feature him more in the second half of the season when the, weeks 15 through 17. So that's kind of my thought process. And I guess I don't really mind pulling up. I'm kind of glad that you green lighted that because I wasn't really loving anyone else in that range and Eckler came off the board. So yeah.
Yeah, I think, he's not a perfect prospect, but I think that he's got enough going. I trust the coaching staff in Cleveland to be able to maximize stuff. Right. Tyler Allgeier stands out to me. I love Tyler Allgeier, another one of the guys that I kind of always shout for.
Yeah, I think Allgeier, I cite the, when I'm talking about guys like Saquon and Kyron, players that I'm not necessarily super high on, talking about their touch load last year. I don't bring this up because I like Bijan, but Bijan also had a lot of touches last year too. So yeah, I like to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a bit of a younger player. So I think that he can handle that type of workload a little bit better. But, when it comes to these handcuffs that we feel super confident that would not only take on the 3-down workload, but also deliver in that workload. I mean, Allgeier, for a guy that was a 5th round pick, his rookie year rushes for over 1,000 yards, then immediately gets benched essentially because they draft Bijan Robinson. He would be a starter on a lot of different teams. So I think Allgeier, again, if Bijan misses any time, Allgeier is a plug and play fantasy RB1.
Yeah, we kind of saw it last year anyway. He finished 10th in explosive run rate in 2024, ranked 7th in juke rate. We know how explosive he can be and how good he can be when given the chance. So very much in there. Disasters, I see your question. Definitely going to come back to that in a minute. Andrew, what's our wide receiver room looking like so far? That feels like a position we've possibly neglected a little bit.
A little bit. So yeah, it's Collins, Waddle, Adunze, and Ricky Pearsall. So we can probably hit on some. Oh, and Nico Collins. Yeah.
So is Geno still on the board, or is Geno gone?
Nope, Geno is Gonzo.
Okay, so quarterback-wise, is there anybody you'd want to draft as a third quarterback between now and the end of the draft?
Let's see. We have Collins, Adunze. So. Maybe this is too deep. It's probably too deep, but I would say, we could always factor in like a Daniel Jones or something like that. We don't have any other receivers. The only thing I'm thinking about, if we want to do something spicy, if we want to draft Diontae Johnson, our guy, we could stack him with Kenny Pickett. But they also have the same bye because Justin Fields, so maybe that's not the greatest strategy.
I'm just gonna leave now. Yeah, well, we'll come back to other ideas that make us want to throw up in our mouth in a little bit. You find some good players to put in the wide receiver room, and I'm going to hit back on Disaster's question. Are any builds, especially on 20-man roster sites like DK, where you'd roll with 2 quarterbacks or tight ends? Well, last year in the final, we saw 2693 was the second most popular build. 12% of the finals rosters were 2693. Then 6% of the final rosters were 2783. So it was a better year for 2 quarterback builds. And part of that is because Lamar Jackson hit in such a meaningful way. Josh Allen hit in such a meaningful way. Whereas 3 tight end builds hit really well last year. So, you think about the elite tight ends towards the top of the board, guys like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, who you would have done 2 tight end builds with, and they didn't really work out massively well. Andrew, what wide receivers have you brought to me?
Josh Palmer, Demario Douglas, and Jaylin Noel. Those are the top 3 guys that I definitely want to get Noel because we have Nico Collins, but we can take Palmer now and hopefully get Noel on the.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. We should be able to push him around the corner. And just going back to Disaster's question, that's kind of been a trend with 2 QB and 2 tight end builds. They haven't done as well as 3-6-8-3 over the last few years. Like 3-6-8-3 made up 34% of the teams in last year's final, 23% the year before, 17%. Like 3-6-8-3 has just become more and more dominant. And it's been tricky because for the last 2 years, we've seen punt tight end really pay off nicely. So I do tend to lean towards 3 QB, 3 tight end builds, but I'm very much not against it. I would say that 2 QB is my preference over tight end because tight end's just such a difficult position to get right. Andrew, do you lean more towards 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends when drafting 20 rounds?
I think that I do like overloading quarterback when I can. Not to say that you just take quarterbacks just because, hey, I want to take another quarterback just for the position, but they do score a lot of points and they have a little bit more of, I don't want to say certainty than some of these guys that go in rounds 19 and 20, where, I mean, some of the guys, especially before training camp really breaks, I mean, some of these guys are not going to be on NFL teams or won't play this season. Whereas quarterbacks, okay, we know for the most part who the 32 quarterbacks are. Like Daniel Jones is probably going to outscore just in terms of raw points, probably the majority of guys that are going after him like that full round. Now, so that's kind of my mindset behind it. But at the same time, it does matter like what your build is. And chances are Daniel Jones probably won't be there in weeks 15, 16, 17. So that's kind of a reason to kind of push away. And I do feel good about the quarterbacks we drafted, where Fields and Williams, if we have to go to war with those 2 guys, like I'm pretty cool with that. We have rushing upside with both players. We have stacks with both players. So unless one of these other quarterbacks is a screaming value to us and just continues to fall, maybe we take a shot, but we don't really have any stacks with either of these players either. So that kind of like shying me away from, just drafting another one.
Well, Daniel Jones, though, would open up Alec Pierce and AD Mitchell, wouldn't he? Of course, he gets drafted as I say those words. Right.
That's been happening to us a lot on this stream.
let's go Jaylin Noel. Yeah.
Yes.
Just going back to
I'm pretty sure I draft Jaylin Noel, and I think I draft him in every single best ball draft. I don't know. I don't know what I'm missing with Jaylin Noel. Why aren't others high on him? I think Christian Kirk is not made for the long run, and I think Noel's going to be the starting slot receiver sooner rather than later.
Yeah, there's definitely been a bit of a drumbeat for Christian Kirk recently, but like if you're looking to the back end of the season when we know rookie production tends to spike, then I'm very much fine taking that bet. Just going back to the chat, Flowbro241 saying Allgeier has to be one of the highest upside handcuffs. He does. And what's wild is it's the 8th biggest gap in ADP between the RB1 of the team and the RB2. Now, look, we're both big on Bijan Robinson, both believe he can be the RB1 overall this year. But if you can make that argument for Robinson and you can look at the stats for Tyler Allgeier, I don't know how you can build an argument against drafting Tyler Allgeier higher.
Yeah, I think that he's going much later than we usually see these handcuff players. And especially in the best ball format where, the Falcons get up on a team. Allgeier has a big runner too. In season long, it's tougher because you'll never start him in a week where Bijan is healthy, basically. But in best ball, you will get those occasional spikes where, he does fall in the end zone, or he rips off a big run because Bijan is catching his breath on the sideline. So I think just betting on a good player like Allgeier, who, I liked a lot as a rookie, and just it's unfortunate that he, that team drafted Bijan Robinson and then just kind of screwed him over.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're up to 6 wide receivers now. This team feels like we're probably going to have to take a couple more shots at the wide receiver position. Running back, what number of running back are we up to? Are we up to 5 or was it 6?
1,
We're
2,
at 6.
3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I feel like running back, we're not terribly. I think
feel
it's
like
still
running back.
receiver.
Yeah,
You
running
feel
back.
running back?
No, sorry. Running back we can kind of leave alone.
Okay.
So wide receiver still feels like the biggest need. What are you seeing at the top of ADP that you'd really like to lock in?
Well, we were talking about some back end stacks. I mean, Darius Slayton, he's out there, he runs routes, and he's downfield. So I think he's a solid pick in best ball. So that's where I would go. And then gives us Dart as an option later.
Every year, it just seems like Darius Slayton ends up being undervalued. And every year we get some wildly inconsistent performances from him, but I'm okay with it. Like if he gives me 2 or 3 spike weeks at this point in a draft, that feels completely fine. I mean, you've only got to go back and look at the team that won Underdog's Best Ball Mania last year. They had Jermaine Burton on their roster, and they got the total of nothing from him the entire season. And that's an 18-round format. The idea that you can't carry guys through a season and not get any points out of them feels outdated to me. Like the team that won this contest in 2022, they had a 4 quarterback build. They had Russell Wilson with, I think it was Jacoby Brissett, Jordan Love, and I'm forgetting the 4th quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. And they got nothing from Jacoby Brissett. They got just about nothing from Jordan Love. That was before Jordan Love was starting. They also had Darrell Williams, who gave them nothing that year. Like you can survive with bad picks. Like the 2023 winner had Paris Campbell. Like these aren't players who were giving these rosters standout performances every week. So I'm okay taking Slayton and accepting the downside of him because it's late in drafts.
Yeah, I just think that he's one of those players where you're never going to touch him in redraft unless it's a 6 wide. You got to start 6 wide receivers. He has a role on the offense that's clearly defined. And yes, I think that you laid out the case of why he's a great pick, especially with a team that needs a little bit more receiver floor with what we have. And I kind of like the idea of going with Jaxson Dart. I don't know if you were opposed to that. I mean, he plays the Raiders in week 17. We have Brock Bowers.
That feels like the backdoor stack that would be very useful. It gives us that week 17 correlation. Even if you want to say Russell Wilson's going to start the season, Russell Wilson's going to get a decent run, which I don't necessarily believe he will do, then we're building for week 17. We're trying to come up with a roster construction that can take on 1,020 other teams and help us win the serious money. So, yeah, very much on board with Jaxson Dart if he doesn't get sniped in these next couple of picks. And I just think in general, this feels like a team which is kind of fine with 3 quarterbacks. Last week, I was doing a show with Pat Crane on my channel, Fantasy Sanctuary, and he was talking, he's done a lot of work with simulations for drafts this year, and the Sims have pushed him to more 3 QB builds. And I've just never seen any data that's really forced me towards 2 QB builds en masse. And when you've got guys like Justin Fields and Caleb Williams, where there are doubts about those guys, I mean, the ceiling is why we're drafting them, but there are downsides, and it'd be naive to say there isn't. So having a 3rd quarterback there, that feels like an okay option. How are you feeling about this team, Andrew?
I really like this team. I don't really know how it kind of came to fruition, but obviously we're drafting it, so that's why. But I like the route that we went with certain players. I liked starting with Bowers and Nico Collins. We pulled Nico up into round 1, so we went a little bit ahead of ADP. But I've just kind of liked how everything's kind of fallen into place. I like the player archetypes that we've gone after, a couple rookies, some breakout receivers on new teams. running backs with some PPR upside. I like kind of just getting into Dylan Sampson, as we don't know what's going to happen with this Browns backfield. So this could be a total terrible pick. Jerome Ford went 2 rounds later or 3 rounds later, and that could have been the right pick to make, but just trying to attack some ambiguous situations. And I like going with the third quarterback as well. I think that especially Dart, who we feel pretty confident that as long as he's not injured, he's going to be there weeks 15, 16, and 17. And just having 3 quarterbacks potentially available for those weeks, I think that puts us in a good position if we advance.
Yeah, absolutely. Don Vito is saying in the chat, do you think you need at least some kind of stack to be able to win it all in best ball? So that's something which I've dived into a decent amount, particularly over on DraftKings. And the field is definitely drafting more stacks. Like year on year, that data is showing trends towards stacks. Now, part of that is because people like myself and Andrew are here banging on about the need for stacks, about how when you get to these final rounds of best ball contests, you have to treat it more like a DFS contest. But also, it just makes sense on a number of levels. Like, you were trying to get fewer things right when you stack. You just need one team to be explosive. Mike Leone, Established a Run, has done lots of really in-depth research into the win rates that are increased through stacking. He found that in Best Ball Mania, you increase your likelihood of winning in week 17 by 30%, I think it was, with at least one kind of stack. So I haven't seen any data to say that not stacking would be the way forward. But in 2022, the team that won it, which was a really funky team, the only stack they had was Russell Wilson with Jerry Jeudy, and the rest of the team didn't have a single stack in there. So there's nuance to it for sure. Andrew, one pick away. Are we needing a third tight end here, or are you just looking towards the skill position players for this round?
I think running backs and receivers. So I got Diontae, Tutu Atwell, Kyle Monangai, Elijah Moore, Trevor Etienne. We have a lot of Bears, so that's why I like Monangai, but Diontae Johnson, it kind of like, I mean, he might be our guy. So it's like, I don't know. What do you think?
I'd lean, my preference is Tutu, but if you want to take Diontae, I'm not going to fight you on it.
All right, let's go with Diontae.
I feel like we've taken Tutu a reasonable bit, so it does make sense to mix in some Diontae Johnson. I know certain people are just completely out on him, but like Diontae Johnson, by reports, has the inside track to the slot receiver role, and that can be valuable, particularly if Joe Flacco's out there. A question in the chat from Flowbro241: how do you think the Packers receiving core shakes out? Man, like, that is a very difficult question, and I really struggle with this. I think that so much of it comes down to whether we see Jayden Reed develop into more of a well-rounded player. But the Packers in general are just a really difficult team to decipher. I saw Adam Levitan have Established a Run posting some stuff earlier about how last year, when the Packers were running 3 wide receiver sets, Jayden Reed was only on the field like 6% of the time, or something ridiculously minimal. Andrew, are you holding out hope for Jayden Reed, or are you sort of more into Matthew Golden or Romeo Doubs?
No, I'm definitely holding out for Jayden Reed. I think the guy is too talented. I think that last year, I think a lot of that had to do with them running the football so much. I think that we would have saw a different Green Bay Packers offense had Jordan Love not gotten hurt in that very first game, because the amount of FOMO I had for being too low in Jayden Reed last year, and then seeing him go off for 100 yards in 2 of the 4 starts for Jordan Love, I was pulling my hair like, oh my God, I just made the worst decision ever. Like why didn't I draft more Jayden Reed? And I think that the fantasy gods have gifted us something special, where they're now giving us Jayden Reed again, another great discount. Again, his yards per route run improved from last season. I get that if you look at the volume, it is so bad. I think it's 4.4 targets per game. That is atrocious for a player like Jayden Reed. But if they have to throw more, we've talked about in some of the betting shows where, or before I go to the Jayden Reed, Kyle Monangai, can I take him? Is that cool? So last running back. Let's do it. Our Bear stack. He'll be there in week 17, scoring all the touchdowns against Ricky Pearsall and the 49ers. So with Jayden Reed, I just think that the volume's going to go up overall in the passing game. I think that's going to benefit him specifically. And, you know, I've done a lot of work on, you know, identifying the next wide receiver 1 breakout. And the one that has the highest percentage, not rookies, not year 2, it's year 3 wide receivers. 32% of players that become wide receiver 1s for the first time are year 3 players. And when I look at Jayden Reed, I look at his body of work. He's a slot receiver that they love to move in motion. Hasn't this been like the cheat code for fantasy points, where all of these slot receivers that are moved around the formation, they get tons of targets, really easy layups? With Reed, it's just been the lack of volume. But the efficiency he's shown 2 years in the league, the big play upside, the yards after the catch ability. I mean, I think that this could be the year again. If it's not Tucker Kraft, I think that Jayden Reed is definitely the next guy I'm circling. And as a guy outside the top 36 receivers, yeah, I'm really in on Jayden Reed.
Love it. I'm coming round on it. I think he burned me. Definitely was a fun pick, but burned me slightly. Andrew, could you recap this team for us?
Yes. So let's get this squad pulled up. So Nico Collins was start, Brock Bowers, Breece Hall. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry. There's a notification. Sorry. We'll restart. Nico Collins, Brock Bowers, Breece Hall, Omarion Hampton, Jaylen Waddle, Rome Odunze, Ricky Pearsall, Justin Fields, J.K. Dobbins, Caleb Williams, Colston Loveland, Rachaad White, Dylan Sampson, Tyler Allgeier, Joshua Palmer, Jaylin Noel, Darius Slayton, Jaxson Dart, Diontae Johnson, and Kyle Monangai.
I love it. I mean, what could go wrong stacking the Jets, Giants, and Bears? We have definitely got to hit on at least one of those offenses. I think that it's a fun team. I really like the way that we kind of put it together. And I think it's got plenty of upside. It's got downside as well, but that's what you need in a best ball roster. You need to be able to shoot for upside. Like, I think that Nico Collins could be wide receiver 1 overall. Brock Bowers is easily going to be tight end 1 overall for a lot of people. We've got a question, though, from Disasters. Last one before we are going to get out of here, as they also get out of here. But who is the worst running back you'd consider as a hero running back candidate? For me, I think it's kind of like around Chase Brown. Like, I'm willing to bet. Like, I think that Chase Brown can outplay his ADP, and I think that Chase Brown has shown how explosive he can be, how much of a high ceiling he can be. Before that, there are still guys that I'm a little iffy on, like Bucky Irving. I don't really enjoy as a hero running back because I think his profile is a bit fragile. Andrew, what about you?
I agree. I think the Chase Brown area, even Breece Hall kind of goes in that similar range. I feel good. He was our hero RB on the team that we just drafted. So I think that that's kind of the range where I feel pretty good about the hero. When I think about Chase Brown, I think that he could have a Kyren Williams season from last year, where I think that he gets overloaded with touches. And when we look back on the season, we think, oh, he wasn't like super efficient. And maybe next year will be the year where, okay, like we have to get off the Chase Brown bandwagon. Like last year was fun, but the ride has to end. But I think that this year, I think that he's locked in. Zach Moss, Taj Brooks, Samaje P. Ryan. I can't get excited about these guys. And Chase Brown was so good last year. I felt so good about that pick against him and Zach Moss. And the offense is so stacked. That defense is so bad. Like the best players, the guy that they had that led the team in sacks is not
points. Yeah.
He doesn't want to play. And Shamar Stewart, the guy that drafted in the first round, he doesn't want to play for the Bengals. Like, so I think that Chase Brown, even if he is inefficient, I think that he's going to see over 300 touches. And I think that's going to make him a hero RB because he's going to score double-digit touchdown and catch 50 passes.
Yeah. Well, the chat, you have absolutely cooked tonight. I appreciate Merck, Disasters, Don Vito, Flo Bro, and every single one of you who have been in here with us tonight. Do not forget to subscribe over here on Twitch. And remember, this is a big week on DraftKings. You can receive a bonus ticket to the NFL Best Ball $15 million headliner contest. All you got to do, enter a lineup in that contest. The entry fee is $20, and you'll receive a bonus ticket upon entering your first lineup. Andrew, it's been a pleasure. For myself, Andrew, and producer Seth, we will catch you next Monday for lots more best ball talk.